For a brighter future, let's start today. With every act, we'll pave the way. Earth Day, every day, feel the love. Together, let's rise, reach the stars above. Our power, our planet, hand in hand. Invest in our future, let's take a stand. Clean energy, let it grow. Every second, make renewables flow. Come together, time is now. For Earth our home, we make this vow. In every heart, in every land, united we take a stand.
Sound is muted. You're muted, Sushmita.
Yes. So hello, good evening, everyone. Greetings to everyone who has joined from other countries as well. So we are very happy to celebrate this event today with Earth Day Network and with SASEANEE Network from CE. So the today's theme is our power, our planet, and the power of handprints in energy conservation. So we have a good number of like the registrations we have received, and we are seeking for participants to join in with us as we start the event. And we are happy to have young voices from the region, from different countries of South and Southeast Asia, who will be joining us today in two different panels, and who will be reflecting on their innovative methods and different works which they have done in energy conservation. So we have two panels today. So panel one is on technology-driven energy solutions in energy solutions, and then we have second panel on community empowerment, where we can show energy solutions there also. And these two panels will be moderated by two people who are also very young and working in energy sector. And so this is all about. So I'll give it to Madhvi ma'am also later. So she will explain about the today's event. And I'll request participants to also, as it is in a webinar mode, to, if they have any questions or any points which they want to add, they can add in the chat, and also leave their questions in the question and answer chat, which panelists can look, and they can also answer through the question answer chat, which is there in the webinar mode. Yes. So yeah. So I'll give it to Ms. Madhavi Joshi, who is a Senior Program Director at Center for Environment Education. She also looked at the SASEANEE network. She directs the program of the SASEANEE, and she has been working over more than 3 decades in the environmental education with CE. So I welcome Ms. Madhavi ma'am to please welcome the audience with her note on this day. Thank you.
You're muted,
Thank you.
Madhvi.
Yep. Thank you, Sushmita. On behalf of the earthday.org, SASEANEE, and CEE, I would like to welcome everyone to an exciting 2 hours of interaction with our esteemed panelists, who will speak about technology-driven solutions and community-based solutions to energy conservation. A lot of experience in a variety of ways each one of them will bring. The panelists are also from different countries in the region, namely from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and Singapore. And we're really happy to have Abir and Nishant as moderators for this particular panel discussion. Really excited to hear from each one of them, especially focusing on the theme, which is our power, our planet. And it focuses on people, uniting for a common purpose to find and create solutions which are accessible, which are in the realm of renewables, and the way forward is in that direction. And I think this particular theme in the 55th year of the Earth Day is really, really important, and I think we all need to take note of that. With that, having said that, I just wanted to introduce SASEANEE and CE in a bit. So the SASEANEE, as we call it, South and Southeast Asia Network of Environmental Education. It is a consortium of global partners, including global networks and organizations, who are dedicated to promoting environmental literacy, skills, and sustainability in this region. And CE founded SASEANEE. CE was established as a center of excellence under the Ministry of Environment and Forests in 1984. It develops innovative programs and educational material and builds capacity in the field of environmental education and education for sustainable development, leading to action. With that, I welcome you all again on on the behalf of all of us. I now would like to give it to Neela Majumdar, who is just give me a second. I have a bad throat today.
Let me just introduce myself. I'm Neela Majumdar,
Thank
Director,
you so much,
Education
Neela.
and Outreach, earthday.org.
Uh,
And as you know, today we are commemorating Earth Day, and earthday.org is an environmental organization that started with the first Earth Day on 22nd April 1970. And as Madhavi said, it is basically a time for collective action for everybody to unite for the environmental movement, whether you're an NGO, whether you're an academic institution, whether you're a bureaucrat, a political party, or a corporate leader, we all have to take climate action. And Earth Day really believes in the power of youth to be stewards of the environment, which is why we have united so many youngsters and young panelists today to take this session forward. I also have with me Mrs. Karuna Singh. She is our Regional Director, Asia, also for South and Southeast Asia, which encompasses some 25 countries and over 5 billion people. And so I guess her work is to supervise teams in different places, to organize important campaigns such as even today's event, which basically has multiple stakeholders, taking the environmental movement forward, figuring out ways to change policies, reach out to youth. One of our very important campaigns is to ask for climate education to be mandated in countries all across the world, and also to, of course, increase the global Canopy project so that we are working for a greener, cleaner Earth. Our theme today is Our Power, Our Planet, and I will ask Karuna to step in to talk about that.
Thank you, Neela. It's such a pleasure being here with a lot of old friends and meeting new ones too. Thank you for having us as a part of this. Thank you, Karthik Bhai. It was your idea and we're taking it forward from there. As Neela said, our theme is Our Power, Our Planet, which focuses on two main things. One is a reduction in energy use, and the other one is shifts to renewables. As we all know, greenhouse gas emissions are a major culprit of global warming and the resultant climate change. And that is why this theme has been chosen for this year, and it will continue for next year, 2026 as well, because it is so very important. Our idea of bringing together youth is because it is their time. They have to take the action. It is their lives. They have so much larger lifespan than us. That is why we think that they should take the action. And our president, Kathleen Rogers, who sits in Washington, she has a special message for Earth Day, which we will play shortly, just to let you know that Kathleen has been in this field for a very long time. And it was her idea that, we should focus on energy for this year's Earth Day. So if you could play her message, that would be very nice.
For 55 years, Earth Day has been about one thing: people power. Millions coming together to demand a better future for our planet. And in 2025, that power has never been more important. This year's theme: Our Power, Our Planet. Because when we take action, we shape the world we live in. One of the biggest ways we can make an impact: renewable energy. Right now, energy demand is skyrocketing, driven by AI, new technology, and global growth. The stakes are high, but so is the opportunity. Clean energy isn't just necessary, it's the key to a stronger economy, more jobs, and real energy independence. And it's happening. Solar and wind are already transforming the way we power our lives, lighting up our homes, fueling our businesses, and creating millions of good-paying, healthy jobs worldwide. With new technologies like battery storage, renewables are also more reliable, affordable, and accessible. And to make this clean energy future a reality for everyone, we have to keep pushing. Investing in renewables means investing in people, workers, families, and entire communities. A strong, clean energy economy means stability, security, and opportunity. And a healthier planet means a healthier future for all of us. This isn't just about cutting carbon. It's about powering economic growth, securing energy for all, and making sure no community is left behind. Our power, our planet, our future. Join the movement. Take action today.
Share, there is a button to press, and that'll work. So Kathleen was actually on a wonderful webinar we had just earlier today, where she addressed a webinar full of youth again. It was organized by the
Ministry of
Youth and Sports.
You have to press share audio. Can you do it from here?
Yeah.
Just a moment.
Yeah, let me just check if I can do it.
So when you're pressing the share
Mhm.
screen, at the bottom, you'll see share sound. Sorry, not on the bottom, on the right-hand side. It says share sound. Can you see share sound? When you click on the share on the right-hand side, it will say share sound.
Yeah, I'm taking that one as well.
It's showing inactive actually, so maybe we can try. So Neela, you have on your computer, if you can.
Yeah. But colleagues to share it from here.
Why don't we continue, and then after the next this thing, we'll ask to share it. Hold on.
Okay.
Madhavi, you can continue.
All right. So, um, apologies for this. We did test it and it was working. So I'm not sure what is wrong, what's happening. Um, Hopefully it will work. And it's a lovely message from Kathleen. We just hope it works. I would now take it forward, and thanks, Karuna, for joining us and encouraging words there. Look forward to always work with you on various things that we've been doing over the years. I would now like to welcome our Director, Center for Environment Education, Shri Kartike Sarabhai. Just introducing him, he is the founder director of the Center for Environment Education and an eminent environmental educator globally. He's also been doing pioneering work in environmental education and education for sustainable development, has been a member of and worked closely with a lot of various organizations and UN organizations, including being part of committees in the government of India. And he his one of the work that we feel very proud of is the concept of handprint, which came out of the work that the center has been doing, and as a concept which has been also adopted by various organizations and individuals globally. He's been appointed as the chairperson of the curricular area group, which for environmental education, and Kartike Bhai has been involved in engaging with development of the textbooks for schools as part of the national initiative in terms of transformative work that's happening in India in terms of in the education sector itself. So welcome Kartike Bhai, and very honored to have you address everyone here. Thank you so much. Please,
Thank you,
some
Madhvi.
words from you.
Thank you, Madhvi. It's wonderful to be here and have this meeting on Earth Day. Earth Day, of course, is so iconic that it has really created that impact of people wanting to join in and just remind ourselves about the crisis and what we need to do. While you were speaking, I just was on my phone, just looking up the temperature in Ahmedabad on Earth Day for the last 5-6 years. And it's progressively going up, even though this micro data which you can have. And that's what's happening. The temperature on the planet every year by year is breaking all records. And surprisingly, it doesn't get humanity as a whole to act. It's a crisis which is perhaps even more than the COVID one, where we did see global leaders finding themselves being helpless at start, but recognizing that you cannot solve these problems at an individual country level, that you will have to work internationally, collaboratively. Another lesson of COVID was, of course, that you have to bring in science to bear on this. You can't just have opinions, but there is a scientific reality which has to be faced, and you have to solve a problem with that. A third lesson was that you have to involve people. It's not a problem which a government can solve. It's a problem which involves citizen participation. It involves citizen discipline. And at least in India, and I'm sure in other neighboring countries, it showed that unless you had that discipline, you could not actually overcome that problem. A fourth lesson which also came about is that when humans had to stay at home, how soon nature got back. So it's not that when we say save the planet and all these things, we are actually meaning save the human race on this planet, because the planet can quite do without the species doing whatever it does. So as the most advanced species on the planet, and with the type of power we have, the sense of responsibility and the sense of science needs to come back. And that very interestingly comes from the nature itself. That you go into nature, you walk into a forest, you ask children, what is the thing you don't see? And one of the things you don't see is waste. There is no concept of waste in nature. It's incredible. There is no municipality. There are no cleanup crews. Animals don't go to school, but there is no waste, and it's circular, and it is a delicate but robust balance. To think that we have not yet found. We are looking at some places where there may be life, but in this huge place, this is one planet which is at the right distance from the sun. It moves around at the same right speed. And we are so fortunate in having something which we have, unfortunately, over the last 200 years or so, forgotten to value and recognize how privileged we are to be on this planet and to have the life we all enjoy, and that we have to give back. The Ministry of Environment and Forests in India has its own symbol, which we had helped to develop, which says, nature protects if it's protected. That it's not a one-way street. You can't just assume that you can throw any rubbish anywhere, you can treat it badly, you can have greenhouse gases going all over, you kill biodiversity, you destroy habitats, and then expect that nature should take care of itself. Nature can take care of itself if we allow it to take care, and we do not spoil it, assist it. So today's theme, which is based on energy, our power, our planet, there are several ways in which we need to deal with it. Of course, the one important one is to work with more efficient devices, to see that how India could make this huge transformation on LED lights, for instance. A few years ago, when they first heard about it, India said, no, we want to switch most lights to LEDs, and that has reduced the power requirement, and so on and so forth. We must not waste when we go out simple things of switching off and other things. And finally, go towards renewable energy. So there is a lot which can be done. But what is so important about today's meeting are two things. One is that it is a meeting which is led by youth, and we look forward to all of you contributing to it, rather than having a panel like us of talking people. And secondly, it brings together several countries, at least the 4 countries in this case, or 5 countries in this case, because we do need to work together. We do need to share experiences. And Earth Day is one of the times when we do this. I thank Karuna ji and her colleagues for this opportunity. We spoke about it, and I'm glad that this is happening today. And I look forward to many more joint initiatives in the future. Thank you very much.
So do we, Kartik bhai.
Thank
Always
you.
happy to work with you.
Thank you.
And your
Thank you,
team.
Karuna.
I'll try once sharing, if I can do it from there.
So, what do? We move ahead, I think, and
We can,
yeah. So I'm
Absolutely.
requesting Neela to introduce the next
Yes,
panel.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
since we're talking about global collaboration, we actually in 2020 started something called a My Future, My Voice Youth Ambassadors across the world. And we're very lucky to have Abir Balla as one of our My Future, My Voice Youth Ambassadors. From India, we have around 200 of them from more than 110 countries. And they are exceptional people. Abir himself is going to be a wonderful moderator. He's a young environmentalist. He's a sustainability consultant. He's a youth advisor for the governing body of the Commonwealth Human Ecology Council International. And he himself does climate change podcasts, which he calls Candid Climate Conversations.
Climate Conversations.
Exactly, Candid Climate Conversations. And that is exactly what we're going to have today. So over to you, Abir, to take the panel discussion forward on technology-driven energy solutions.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and a very happy Earth Day to all of you. I'm honored to be moderating today's conversation, which, as you know, is the first one is on technology-driven energy solutions. So today, I mean, you know, we're looking at the theme. We spoke about the theme earlier when we started. And I think our theme really must remind us that all our actions, all our handprints can shape a more cleaner, a more greener future for all of us, whether that's decarbonizing the digital world to building cook stoves that empower rural women, or even designing cooling systems for an increasingly warming planet. These are the 3 areas my panelists today are going to talk about. And they're true change makers across South and Southeast Asia. And what unites their work is not just the technology that they're building, but the intention behind it to make energy more inclusive, efficient, and sustainable. And this isn't just about innovation, it's also about impact. So without further ado, let me introduce our speakers, each of whom is leading with purpose and leaving a lasting handprint on our energy future. We have with us Mr. Ian Chu, who is the founder of Greeny-Web. He's joining us from Singapore. Greeny-Web is a pioneering Singapore-based climate tech company that reduces carbon emissions through sustainable computing. He's Asia's first innovator in low carbon code and has received global recognition, including Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia for social impact. Ian has provided technical expertise to the ADB, and he chairs multiple regional and global sustainability initiatives, including the ASEAN Smart Cities Network, where he is the chair of the Sustainability Working Group, and the Global Alliance for Sustainable Digitization, where he's the founding chair. His 29 by 29 initiative, which we'll be talking about in a bit, has empowered 3,500 individuals across 5 continents. Ian has been a guest lecturer at the Singapore Management University and mentors emerging sustainability leaders. He's been featured in the global media such as Forbes, Hindu, and the Straits Times. We also have with us today Ms. Nitisha Agrawal, who is the founder of Smokeless Cook Stove Foundation India. Nitisha is the founder of the SCF, where she designs clean energy solutions for rural livelihoods. With over 2 decades of corporate experience in brands like Volkswagen and Marico, she transitioned to social impact, blending communications, design thinking, and sustainability. Her smokeless cook stove innovation brings cleaner air and dignity to rural kitchens while reducing firewood use. Nitisha is a certified practitioner in sustainable development and systems thinking and has spoken at global forums like COP24. She mentors women in clean cooking and is part of the South Asian Women in Energy Network. Her work emphasizes grassroots engagement and spiritual sustainability through projects like Children of the Tribe. Nitisha's story is one of translating compassion into community-driven climate action. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Kiran Siraj, who is the CEO of InfraGreen. She's joining us from Pakistan. InfraGreen is a startup developing low-cost, energy-efficient cooling solutions for climate-vulnerable regions. With a PhD in electrical engineering, she specializes in low-voltage DC systems and energy conservation. Kiran's work bridges technology and behavior, designing tools for utilities in Pakistan, integrating EVs as demand-side solutions, and using behavioral nudges to promote energy efficiency. She also teaches energy access courses at LUMS and works closely with UKAID and the TLP network. Her interventions span appliance design, policy reform, and educational outreach in underserved regions like Skardu. Kiran is passionate about making energy systems more adaptive, inclusive, and user-responsive, and her multifaceted experience spans academia, entrepreneurship, and grid innovation. So just from the sheer time that I took to introduce all 3 of my panelists, you know how talented and how in what diverse areas of work they come from. We don't have a lot of time though, so I'm going to dive right into it. Ian, I want to start with you. Your work on low carbon computing is reshaping how a lot of people think about digital infrastructure. And I want to ask you how digital sustainability is something we should think about as users and consumers of the media. I mean, I know that, the introductions that I read out for all of you were the abridged versions, which I asked ChatGPT to shorten for me. And I'm sure that that's resulted in a fair amount of carbon emissions by just using ChatGPT to do that. So what are your thoughts on that?
First and foremost, my absolute thanks to Abia for the kind introduction. Thank you so much, Susmita, as well, for the invitation, and of course, Madhavi, for helping to organize this entire session today. My deepest gratitude. So my name is Ian. Dr. Ian Chu from Greenie Web. And what we do really is we change regular computer code into low carbon computer code. So we look at how a line of computer code in a piece of software is written, and we find out what is the most environmentally friendly way of rewriting that line of computer code. So on to the question that you had just asked, I think it's a very interesting one, and just some statistics off the top of my head. The large tech companies involved in AI, Google, Microsoft, and the like, all reported an increase in carbon emissions in the last year or so. If I may quote some statistics, Google has an increase of about 48% of their global greenhouse gas since 2019. And Microsoft, which is, well, a big investor in OpenAI, which powers ChatGPT, saw their carbon emissions increase by 30% between 2020 and 2024. So you can see how AI has really fueled this increase in carbon emissions, in particular digital carbon emissions worldwide, and how that's really causing a strain on the energy grid in many places. We've seen this play out previously in the last decade when Bitcoin mining was a huge thing globally, right? We saw how mining companies, Bitcoin mining companies in particular, could go into certain places with cheaper energy costs and really just take up all the energy requirements of the grid for their particular mining activities, right? So this is nothing new here. But what is new, and thankfully so, is this growing awareness worldwide about digital sustainability, right? Of how much energy it uses and what the carbon footprint eventually would be, right? So based on your question, Abia, one quick thought really is that digital sustainability is entering the mainstream conversation, and that's something very heartening to me. We've been in the space for 16 years, and in the early days, no one actually believed the internet could be as pollutive. So I think we are on the right track, but definitely much more needs to be done.
Okay, and while I have you, a quick comment in 30 seconds or a minute, if possible, in terms of what you think can be done on the institutional end, right? When we talk about governments or corporates, as you were saying.
Certainly. And I think that's really the term sustainable digitization comes into play, because we've been talking so much of digital transformation, right? To going from paper to paperless, to going from mail to emails, that a lot of times we're mainly shifting the carbon emission from a physical carbon emission to a digital carbon emission, right? So when we do these kinds of digital transformation projects, we need to be very mindful of the carbon footprint, and that's where sustainable digital transformation comes in, whereby when we create new government services, new government portals, new corporate websites, mobile applications, and the like, we ensure that we use low carbon computer coding instead of the regular vanilla code.
Got it. I want to change tracks to a related segment, which is cooling, right? Nitisha, I want to come to you to ask you about the work that you're doing, because I know that I have friends who refuse to walk down to the neighborhood market, and they say, oh, it's too hot, we need to take the car with the AC on. And I keep telling them that the more you run your at least ICE vehicle cars, and in the interim EVs as well, the more you're going to keep polluting and the hotter it's going to get, right? So cooling is also in a bit of a vicious cycle when we're in a increasingly heated world. And I want to understand your work in terms of behavioral interventions. How do you think that is something that has worked hand in hand with the low-cost cooling sort of solutions that you work on?
I think that's a question for Kiran. That's
Oh,
me.
sorry, Kiran. Yes, my
Fine.
bad.
If you don't mind, should I answer this, or you're gonna go back to?
No, absolutely. That's
Okay.
for you, Kiran. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. Thank you so much, first of all, everyone, for giving me this opportunity. So basically, coming back to your question, at InfraGreen, we basically realized that we realized this early that if we rely on the technology alone, this is not gonna be enough. So especially in climate vulnerable regions. So what we did was our R&D on low cost cooling system focuses not just on the the thermal performance, but basically on how people actually use and manage energy in their real life context, right? So we're basically integrating behavioral elements or nudges from the start, like intuitive airflow controls, visual reminders to ventilate, and basically feedback tools to, just guide the efficient use of the energy. And these features are basically being tested in our simulated environments to refine the user interactions. So this is basically a back and forth approach that we are using. We're also co-designing with potential users, ensuring that basically the whole system reflects the human habits, but it should not compromise on the comfort needs of the customer. So it's not just about being it's not just about engineering a product. It's basically about building a solution that truly is usable, relatable, and ready for adoption, when scaled. So that's how we are combining the human, nature with technology in the overall InfraGreen setup.
Got it. That's pretty interesting. And what are your thoughts on, I mean, I know this is not a new technology in any form, but a lot of new buildings, especially places like schools, smaller institutions, are shifting to what I believe are called earth air tunnels, which is something that used to be there even 25, 30 years ago, perhaps, where you sort of run your air through a network of tunnels under the ground and cool the air through that. So is that something which is very capex heavy, or is that something that can be integrated into newer buildings as well? What are your thoughts on that?
So basically, coming back to the InfraGreen technology, we are using radiation when it comes to our basic the route, that the technology that we are using. So we are right now working on the retrofitting of the buildings. But what is more important is that what we have realized is not just the technology, it's basically the user behavior that is the silent driver here, or the barrier, you can say. So when it comes to the energy conservation, you can roll out any advanced technology or set ambitious policies, spend lots of money, but if users aren't engaging with the energy source or with the technology consciously, then the outcome of it will dilute, it will fall short. So that's where behavioral nudges comes in. So basically we have experimented with several nudges, starting with electricity bill redesign. It's a very basic thing to do, but it adds comparative insights. Like, for example, you use 15% more than the similar household. It's just this message if it's displayed. So users become more mindful, right? So resulting in up to 10 to 15% of savings without needing a new tech. So it's just no money, just solution and just the results, right? So we also have tested visual cues in default settings, like, for example, setting the AC to energy efficient temperatures by default, or using color coded reminders near the switches. And this is not new. This is basically, it's done in Europe. Europe has similar successes on this, programs in UK and Germany. Even in some parts of India have shown that simple nudges, such as, human displays, time of use prompts, and even emotionally framed messages. So, play with the emotions a bit, can
Yeah.
significantly cut peak load, and they can actually improve long-term efficiency behaviors. So in South Asia, where energy excess is basically growing rapidly, and it's majorly cooling demand, embedding behavioral nudges into policies, tariff designs, appliance labeling, or even making it enter into the school or university curriculum
Yeah.
can offer low cost, high impact strategies, right? So what I feel is that conservation isn't just about the infrastructure. It's basically about everyday decision, and nudges are how we can basically reshape those human natures and reshape those decisions that we are making continuously, but we don't know about it, that they are not sustainable for the
Absolutely. It's like your calorie display on a chips packet or on a
yes.
juice packet, right? So
Yes. You're gonna do it
I
yourself.
think, yeah, and you're absolutely right, because whenever I talk to students and stuff, I think something I keep saying very often is the fact that we don't consider the psychological or the human element, behavioral element when it comes to talking about our work in climate, right?
Yes.
We sort of tend to talk about what has to be done, but without factoring in what the human response or tendency could be. So that's a pretty interesting approach. But Nitisha, coming to you, this time actually for you. Sorry about that. I have like 3 pages of notes in front of me. But I want to look at your side of the work, which is around clean energy innovation for livelihoods, which is also a very important aspect of this discussion. And in the case of the cook stove project, right? How do you see such innovation shaping the broader narrative of a just energy transition?
Thank you, Abir. I enjoyed going through your questions even earlier, and what a stellar panel. Thank you, the organizers, Neela. So, listening to Ian and Kiran, I was just thinking that my work, my playground is a very remote village, generally, where it's about survival, everyday survival. So everything that we are talking about over here has to be broken down into some sort of a language that they may remotely understand. Because for them, nothing makes sense when we talk about technology or environment or emissions. What makes sense to them is, can I choose something that is going to help me improve the way I live? Or can I get something that is going to help me go through my problems, which is food, which is, getting that money that is needed to survive, to perhaps provide for education for the children, and to take care of day-to-day living requirements. So that's the kind of that's the universe that I operate in. And in that cook stoves, which is actually, there's so much of literature that is there in terms of how indoor air pollution caused by rudimentary cooking contributes to everything that is not good for the health of the planet and health of the communities that are still using it. But at the end of the day, it's a practice that every household has to go through, and it's a intimate part of everyone's routine. So to then go into their households and say that the cook stove that you use is not a good idea, and it contributes to more of health issues, and contributes to more of cutting down of the forests, is all okay for us to understand. But to that woman who has to actually, in everything, has to put the food together for her family, I don't think the message goes through. So that is why, if the programs which are very, very specifically designed to work with communities that are marginal, that are operating on the fringes because survival is more of an important aspect to them, if that is created with a framework that they become part of it, so much so that it helps them on additional livelihood opportunities, so much so that it builds their basic capacity as human beings, so much so that they become little bit more aware of what better choices they can do for themselves and their family. And that is the framework that we operate with when we do projects through Smokeless Cook Stove Foundation, because it is not just about cook stove. It is about how is it that through our work and through our intervention, we can first listen to the everyday problems that these communities go through, and then how do we make them co-creators of the process of change? Because
Right.
I think,
So,
Kiran,
yeah.
Kiran beautifully mentioned that, we can have all the technologies in the world, but if our humans are, not geared up to interact with them in the way we want them to, I don't think it's going to help us see the kind of impact that we need so desperately.
No, you're very right. And I think the use case is very necessary because, my primary area of work is air pollution. And something I say is that indoor air pollution is a much worse beast that we sort of tend to ignore. and we just focus on the outdoor air pollution aspect. But very quickly, and we just have another 5-7 minutes. So if I can ask you in a minute about the technology side of this, right? And you mentioned co-creating with the women that you work with. I know that I've done a project in Kanha National Park where we've explored different cook stoves, solar and less emitting smokeless cook stoves. I don't know if they were smokeless, but less emitting. And a lot of challenges we saw is that it also is very dependent on the community, right? A community which is very dependent on meat may not be able to benefit from a solar cooker, an induction cooker, right? So how are some of those challenges being navigated by the work that you're doing? Especially, as you said, from a perspective of co-creating it with the women in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, there are several examples as to how cooking behavior changes almost every 50 kilometers here in India, much like the language or the dialect. So it's not one size fit all proposition at all. But like I said, it was a learning process for me that the work that I'm intending to do is not about um, bringing clean cooking or clean energy solutions. It's something that is about unraveling what goes behind choosing a particular way of cooking. And that is only going to happen when we have, a very clear mindset and lens of listening and observing and talking to our communities, our participating communities, much before we can design a program or even the solution. So I have innovated a stove that is again, an improved type of stove which uses rocket stove technology. And there are several designs that can be, iterated through using rocket stove technology. But for me, the co-creation part comes in the delivery of that technology to the community. So it's only when we sit with them for several hours and days together to design how we are going to deliver the technology to them is where that shared role comes in. And the entire project is actually driven by the community, and my role is just as that of a facilitator, because at the end of the day I can only bring them to a certain point, but the choice will always remain with the community. And here it's even more difficult, because if the choice is going to increase her burden of time, if the choice is going to increase her burden of money, and the choice is going to increase her getting confused about what to do while she has to quickly make a meal, then that choice is not very, very relevant to her. So we have to
Absolutely, yeah.
understand all these nudges, if I can borrow from Kiran's narrative. This is something we have to understand much before, before we can actually design the project. And then it can be combination of technologies where we work with the communities to understand that what suits their requirement the best. At least in clean cooking, based on my 8 years of experience with the foundation and the work that I do with Clean Cooking Alliance, I haven't come across a technology that can 100% eliminate, the problem inside the house and outside. But I think it is about creating that environment to improve in which they cook and also help them elevate in their poverty status. I think that's the work that this stream has to do, actually.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And, I want to encourage all our attendees to sort of put their questions in the Q&A box. That'll be helpful. Very quickly, just a sort of rapid fire to the three of you while our attendees are putting some more questions in the Q&A. Ian, I wanted to ask you, your 29 by 29 initiative has reached a lot of people. So what lasting impact do you think can such programs have on digital energy use and on climate policy? And perhaps how can something like that inspire a regional movement?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And it's a wonderful question that you asked. So for us, what we do believe in really is grooming champions around the world. So champions of digital sustainability, of low carbon computer coding. So when we take part, or rather when we organize these programs worldwide, right, whether it's in Europe or Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, what we do is we curate a group of individuals who are very interested in a topic, and we train them on the breadth and depth of digital sustainability. After which we empower them with the soft skills needed to bring that back to their communities. So even though we train just about 3,500 individuals, what the true impact is about 10, 20 folds, because when each individual brings it back to his institution, his corporation, his department in the government, what we see is that percolation of impact where more than one person is impacted when we do a training for a single individual. So that's really what we're very passionate about. We are very humbled to be backed by UNESCO this year. So the UNESCO regional office in Bangkok is backing our program for 13 different countries around Asia, from Vietnam and Thailand in Southeast Asia, all the way to Afghanistan. So it's something that we're very proud of. And just a shout out to everyone on the call today. If any of you are interested in really bringing digital sustainability, low carbon computer coding back to your communities, back to your corporates, back to your governments even, feel free to reach out to me. But very love to have that conversation with you. Thank you, Albert.
Thanks. Thank you, Ian. And if I can ask, I mean, this is open to all three of you, Kiran, Nitisha, Ian. If there's one sort of piece of technology which exists, or one that is yet to be invented, that you believe will leave the biggest handprint in energy conservation, which one would it be and why?
So I'll just, oh, Kiran, you first. Ladies first.
Just a one-liner. It's again not about the technology. Energy conservation is all about here. It's about human mind. It was never about technology. You can build on new technologies. You can give people, iPhone 12 above iPhone 15. But the point is, you have to tell them why we need to save water, why indoor pollution is dangerous. Like Natisha said, that even in our areas, in our northern areas, indoor air pollution is affecting women and kids the most, right? But they don't know about it. They're just telling me, okay, we often now get more sick, or we have more premature deaths, but they don't know why. And when you tell them that this is the reason, they will not adopt it. Like Natisha was right. So we have to tell them, we have to change their mindset gradually. It's not just, in days it's gonna turn out, we just like magic, but we slowly need to train our youth. And by youth, I don't mean like teenagers. No, we have to start by changing the mindset of our kids from the age 4 to 7. That's where I think the change will start.
So, Ian, I'm sure you have a different perspective.
I actually do think there is a panacea. Adding to what Kiran mentioned, right? I do agree that behavioral nudge is incredibly important. And that's really why at Greenie Web, in terms of what we do, we try to remove behavior from the equation. And how we do that is that when a piece of infrastructure, for example, a website, or today's Zoom call, or a mobile application, is created with low carbon computer code, what happens is that whether the individual is aware or not, whether he is environmentally conscious or not, when he uses a piece of low carbon computer code created device, he is inadvertently, whether he wants to or not, helping the planet, reducing his energy consumption, and by extension reducing his digital carbon emission. So I believe that this is going to be a key technology moving forward. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, the WEF, the World Economic Forum, did list sustainable computing which is basically another way of calling it a low carbon computer coding, as one of the top 10 technologies to watch moving forward in the next decade. So I am very, very optimistic that while this may not be the silver bullet that will solve all problems, it can solve the problem of digital carbon emissions that is present across countries and of course across all industries. Because with every industry from maritime to aviation, chemicals to manufacturing, all of which digitizing, there is this huge opportunity to do it right the first time. So I'm just gonna pause here before we overshoot
Sure.
time. Thank you.
So there's I'm just reading out questions that we've received from the audience now, open to all of you. There's Ankita has asked, can we completely rely on renewable sources of energy for increasing energy demand in the future? I think my interpretation of that question, Ankita, correct me if I'm wrong, the question is, can we rely on renewable sources of energy or renewable energy to eventually sort of, meet the ever rising demand for energy that we have, especially in a country like India or a lot of the global south, which is still yet to meet their threshold capacity? Open to any of you.
Yeah, I think
Well,
this. Oh, someone, Nitisha, you first.
Nitisha
Go for
was,
it.
yeah.
Well, I don't think I'll be able to answer the whole question from the technology perspective, but I can just say that yes, we should endeavor to get to that stage where our reliance on renewable energy sources increases. And that should be what we should be working towards. That will require a very, very collective approach from all aspects, from technology developers to, to the government, to CSOs, to the communities, to users. So it's going to be collective work, but I think that is what our journey should be towards, including more and more renewable sources of energy.
Sure. And Ian, I think you've opted, from what I see, to answer one of the questions that Chaitanya has asked, which is if you can share examples of carbon footprint and what that means.
Sure. So I think the general carbon footprint would be anything that generates carbon emissions. It could be from your car. There would be the smoke that comes out from the back of the car. That's carbon. And if you measure that, then that's the carbon footprint of using the car. For the digital side, when we think of that, it's really how much energy is consumed at the server level in a data center, as well as your device. So whenever, for example, I send a message on WhatsApp, or when I use
Sorry, you went on mute, Ian.
whoops. Yes. So whenever I use email, I send out an email, or I watch a TikTok video or a YouTube video, all of this requires compute power. And by calculating how much energy is being consumed, we can extend that to see where the energy is drawn from, and by extension, calculate the carbon footprint of our digital world. So we can see how much energy a line of computer code consumes, and by extension, how much carbon it produces. I just want to jump in real quickly to Ankita's question. And anecdotally, based on internal research at our company in Greenie Web, we do believe that renewable sources of energy can satisfy energy demand in the future, but that would probably be more than 100 years later. We feel that in the interim period, and that's really where we must be focused at, it will not be sufficient. And that's the reason why, in addition to increasing renewable sources of energy, increasing supply, we must also work on reducing demand. Otherwise, this gap will only widen, and this will put our planet on track for more than 2 degrees increase in temperature, so much so that even when we reach 100% renewable energy, the world's temperature and the carbon that we have in our atmosphere cannot go back as quickly.
Abir, I think you're on mute. Please unmute.
Sorry, my bad. Right, I was saying we're at time, but I'll take 1 extra minute because there's an interesting question in the box around. I think Kiran or Nitisha, this is directed towards you if I'm not wrong. Sean is asking that, someone said that kids from the age of 4 to 7 need to be trained. Why do you think it is essential to implement or introduce such knowledge at such an early age, of 4 to 7? Because in the context of a country, which at the age of 4 to 7, kids are learning the alphabet. So why at such an early age?
Can share my perspective over here since I do a lot of work with children. Well, I don't think it's about training at all. I don't think, kids of that age, training is a bad word for them because they are just, they should be as free in their expression and learning as much as possible. But I think what is important is that they should start to cultivate awareness about what is happening around us in our environment, in our planet, vis-a-vis, the problems that we are facing. Now, children work with a lot of perception. They're very perceptive. So when they see what is going on, COVID was a great example where, so much came out with kids of that particular age, where they were beginning to form their perceptions and they were isolated. And kids who went through the 2 years of COVID, especially as young as that age, they have a lot of trauma that they still need to resolve. So I think it is about that. It is about consciousness. It's about actually not so much about the children. It's about conscious parenting and conscious adulting in the environments in which these children are growing up so that they understand what is it that they can build as they grow up in terms of their choices. And I don't think we need to do a lot of work with the kids because, they tend to understand these things much better. It's really about, that elevated sense of understanding. So I think that is what we need to inculcate in everything that we do as far as education is concerned. Letting them spend time in the nature, letting them appreciate, the ecology of everything, all the beings that are there, understanding why trees are important, understanding, what is how critical it is for us to save water, what it means to switch off the light. I think these are the small aspects that parents can kind of take forward with their children, and then it's going to be up to them how they kind of move forward from there.
Sure.
So just to add, if I have 1 minute. So basically training kids in an early age about energy conservation, it builds lifelong habits. So at this age, basically children are highly, they are eager to mimic responsible behaviors, what they see around them. So when I said that the training should be done at an earlier level, I mean that instilling these values early creates a generation that sees sustainability not as a choice but as a norm. So I just want to share a little bit of a story. So my 5-year-old, whenever I'm forgetting to turn off the lights, she's like, Mama, I saw that in Coco Melon that you have to turn off the lights to save Earth. So, she is like a continuous reminder, Mama, you have to use less water. Mama, you have to turn off the lights. Mama, we need more trees. So these are the kind of things that these kids can even tell us that we have to do this. So we will have to create a generation that unfortunately is not like us, is more responsible, right? So that's what I meant.
Well, I think that's ending on an optimistic note, then I think hopefully that gives us something to look forward to and bank on. But with that, thank you so much, Ian, Kiran, Nitisha, really appreciate your time. I will hand back to Sushmita and then eventually Nishant. Sorry, Nishant, for eating the 5 minutes of your panel. But hopefully this has been a meaningful discussion. So yeah, back to you guys.
Thank you, everyone. It was wonderful hearing about all the initiatives that you all are doing and the great examples, like also the role of education from early childhood and all. So it was very interesting and inspiring to learn from you. So as we move to the next session, it is on the panel 2, Empowering Community-Centric Solutions in Clean Energy. So our moderator for today for this panel is Mr. Nishant Arora. He is the founder at 4 and Ecotech. He is an electrical engineer and MBA in sustainability, and he's also a lifetime member of with the Association of Energy Engineers. He has been a sustainability and clean tech leader with over 20 years of national and international experience. Nishant is the director at Pursuit Sustainability and founder at 4 and Ecotech that I already told. And he's also the vice president. He have been given the position of vice president recently at the EE Northern California, and he has helped us build and scale an energy initiatives services company in the Silicon Valley. And so different energy solutions. He is also driving clean energy sustainability solutions in all the work area which he is currently doing. So I'll give it to Nishant to introduce our next panels and take over for the next panel. Thank you.
Yeah, happy Earth Day, everyone. So quick correction over there. I'm the outgoing vice president, and Nirazun, like who is on the panel, she's the new vice president of the Association of Energy Engineers, Northern California. So with that, so good evening, everyone. I'm the second moderator of this evening. So I'm accompanied by an esteemed panel from South Asia. I know like all of you have curious questions about how to empower with community-centric solutions in clean energy using probably the 5 elements: earth, in Sanskrit Prithvi, water in Sanskrit Jal, fire in Sanskrit Agni, in air in Sanskrit Vayu, and with sky in Sanskrit Akash. So the idea is to cover 3 main topics. One is critical mining in Pakistan, but a lot more from Mariam. Floods in Bangladesh and pollution in India. All 3 topics which are there, they pose a grave danger to the community. But how the youth leaders, look and see, light at the end of the tunnel, and also share, the personal work with which they are, making a dent. So this is what is the whole group is going to speak about with the South Asian panel. I'll make the introductions one by one. Mariam, like you had your hands up, like you have a question. Oh, okay. So this Earth Year's theme was our power, our planet, which reminds us of all our action and inaction, both has consequences. As we form a chain of empowered youth, our handprints can give each other ideas and positive change to the planet. So let's come together and shape a cleaner, greener future. So with that, let's dive in. Representing Pakistan, Ms. Mariam Khalid, Head of Legal, Punjab Energy Efficiency and Conservation Agency. She's also the founding member and chair of Women in Energy Pakistan. An alum of University of London and University of Melbourne, where she studied law. Mariam Khalid is the head of legal in Punjab Energy Efficiency and Conservation Agency, which monitors and implements policy and regulation changes, runs public awareness programs, and promotes behavioral changes. It is also involved in training energy management professionals. She is also the founder of the Lahore Hub Women in Energy Pakistan, building a strong network of women in Pakistan's energy sector and furthering their careers. Representing Bangladesh, Ms. Mirazun Mitu. She's the project development manager at SiteLogic IQ in Sacramento. And she's also the vice president of Association of Energy Engineers, Northern California chapter. So Mirazun is a certified energy manager, an electrical engineer, and an alum of Idaho State University and Santa Clara University. She is a project manager at a US-based energy efficiency company, SiteLogic IQ, amongst many other things which she does at the Association of Energy Engineers. She chairs the scholarship committee and leads the university relations, guiding Association of Energy Engineers student chapters, especially with the University of Chico. And she's also a regular at the Solar Regatta each year, and like we'll hear more from her about that. And finally, representing India, Abir Bhalla. So he's an active youth environmentalist working in environmental conservation over last 8 years. Very impressive work done. BBC World has, recognized him as the foremost youth environmentalist in 2020. So as a sustainability consultant, he's focusing on air pollution and waste segregation. He's also produces a climate change podcast we heard of, Candid Climate Conversations. And he has been a 3-time TEDx speaker. And he's a youth ambassador for Earth Day International, UNICEF, UNEP, India, and is identified as a climate warrior. And for his project, Swachh Chetna. So with that, wonderful, panel that we have. Like I'll begin with Mariam, with the first set of questions. Mariam, firstly, like we love your work, what you do with energy efficiency in Punjab, and also like founding the Women in Energy. So why don't you share more about your work with energy efficiency with the group? To you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much to the organizers for getting us all together. It's always refreshing and wonderful to hear about others' work as well and to see how we're all committed to ensuring that we have a greater planet for the next generation, right? So my foray into energy efficiency was purely coincidental. So I'm a lawyer by training and I was working in international disputes. And then an opportunity came along, and to be very honest, I always enjoy being one of the few non-technical people in a room full of engineers, because that always happens with me. And I really didn't know much about energy efficiency. And as the previous panel has spoken, really saving energy is so much easier and cheaper than generating energy, right? So I was always familiar with generating energy, that if you need more energy, you set up more plants, whether you're generating energy through solar, wind. But what exactly is energy efficiency? So as a lawyer, that was very interesting to me, that if you just start tweaking something as simple as your light bulbs, or your appliances, literally your everyday appliances, whether that's your microwaves, that's your ACs, if you have the right building codes, how many of us know how much heat our buildings are generating? Buildings are actually one of the biggest source of, energy consumption. What a difference that makes. And as Kiran and as the previous panelist pointed out, so much of what we're trying to do is behavioral change. And energy efficiency basically focuses on two things. You're obviously trying to use less energy, which is due to technological advancements, but you're also trying to bring in behavioral change. And that is the tricky part, because a lot of energy efficient technologies are a little expensive in the beginning, but over a longer period of time, they give you more benefits. And that's the hard part to explain to people, because when you're going out to buy a product, you're obviously going to be looking at a product that you think is cheaper and a little more economical. You're not going to be looking at a product which gives you like 5 benefits, but it is a little heavy on the pocket. So I think that is where the government comes in and the private sector comes in. So a lot of the work that we do, it also focuses up on partnering with the private sector, because I'm a big believer of that, because I joined the government from the private sector, that we cannot compete with the efficiencies of the private sector. And it's not on the government to do everything. What the government really ought to do is create a conducive environment that allows the private sector and everyone else to thrive. So that's some of the work that we're doing with energy efficiency. Then you asked about women in energy. Women in energy honestly happened because we were a bunch of women. We were, constantly at conferences, and we would never see women. We would always see these manels, and we were always shocked that where are the women? We're sure they're working. They just didn't have the visibility. So Women in Energy came into being back in 2018 with the prime perspective that we need to ensure women have proper networks to grow. And two, something that we thought was a bit of an anomaly, that the energy sector seemed to be dominated by engineers. And because I was a lawyer working in the energy sector, and my co-founders were policy experts and economists, we kind of felt that there was a big chunk of conversation missing, because when you're dealing with engineers, most of my colleagues are engineers, we've noticed that they're brilliant with ideas, but sometimes I think due to their training, they're not really used to breaking down those concepts into really simple, palatable concepts, as you would say. And lawyers are kind of trained that way because we need to ensure that the audience is kind of picking what we're saying, otherwise what we're trying to achieve won't work. So that's how Women in Energy came about. And minerals you touched, that's an area I used to work in extensively before I joined energy efficiency. But as most of you would be aware now, there is a huge nexus between clean energy, energy transition, and critical minerals. Most of our clean energy technologies are coming through extensive mining. So there's a lot of focus also in Pakistan now how to ensure how to make mining sustainable. Because mining has traditionally had a very notorious reputation. And I won't say that it's a reputation that's kind of, not entirely true. But we also have to remember that our entire industrialization has been founded because of mining. And it's not as if mining is going to stop. But what the country needs to do, and all countries are trying to do now, is to ensure that you have the right policies to ensure that that mining is being as environmentally friendly as possible. And that's why there needs to be like proper regulation of the industry. So I think I'll let the next speaker speak and then we can come back to me. I don't want to hog the entire time, but happy to take the conversation forward.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Mariam. Yeah, I think like there's some impressive work which was being done by, Pakistan Mineral Development Corporation. Like in my research, like I did find that, there's some very impactful, policies which have been made. And, it's further, for the leaders to walk the talk. But like one thing which did resonate with me was like you are the only, legal person in a room full of engineers. So one thing which I can say being an engineer is it doesn't work if there are no policy people, business people, and technology people. All three have to come hand in hand. And in a way, like today, like when we have this panel, like we have all three. So I'm really happy to have this panel discussion going. So with that, like we'll move on to Mirazun. So Mirazun, it's what time in US? 4
It's
a.m.
yeah, almost
Something
like
like that, right?
4:30. Yeah.
Yeah. So hats off to you. You are really a role model for people not only in Bangladesh and not only just in South Asia, but the whole world. And also like growing up with a very humble background, you have covered a very long journey from a middle class, Bangladeshi student in the United States, and then successfully transitioning as an energy efficiency engineer and now a project manager. So share your journey and share like more about energy efficiency.
Thank you, Nishant. Well, thank you, SASEANEE, for having me. Actually, I am very humbled to be here and listening to all the panelists' backgrounds. Everyone is doing amazing stuff. I am getting a very positive vibe for our Earth and Happy Earth Day, obviously. Mirazun, I born and grew up in Bangladesh. Came from pretty a middle class family. It journey wasn't that easy or smooth, but you have to work for yourself. You have to know what you want to do and where you want to go. And energy, honestly, I choose energy slash power field because of my background. Because growing up, I don't know if you guys still have that. In other countries, like a lamp, like electricity was always an issue. Always, there's every single day there was power cut out. So it was like, so that inspired, definitely wanted to be something along that line, like, where I can make an impact, if there's some study, something available there, and if there's career available. And that's how the journey started. And then I moved here, studied, but then I am still in touch. I mean, some of my work, Nishant, personally, I love to work with youth. I love to give back. And I always feel like growing up through my journey, I got especially like amazing women as a mentor. So being here, I always try to be connect with the young generation in Bangladesh. I also have, I'm also mentoring co-chair for the Association of Energy Engineers, the broader global, and I do have mentees in Ghana, Bangladesh, and of course, like here in California. So I try to inspire them. I try to answer their struggles, worries, especially to choose a sustainable career. And as Mariam was mentioning, that it's not only like engineers. It's we all from the all sector. We need people for there. So it's I mean, you study in accounting, finance, law, wherever. You don't need to be an engineer just to make an impact in the sustainable field. So yeah, it's been nice.
Great. So can you confirm Bangladesh gets flooded every year and almost 21% of the land is flooded? Is that true?
Yes, the so far I saw the statistics says it's actually more. So about 20 to 25% is definitely they're gonna submerge, especially the coastal area.
Wow.
But then almost 80%, up to 80% during the monsoon season. The capital of Dhaka and like other big cities, they also get the flood. So this is because of the the geographical location. It is very common. We have to
Right. And
deal
is
with
it
it.
climate change as well?
Oh, yes, yes, definitely. Climate change is definitely making things worse, but there's like I often think about the solution, and the solution is not just like one simple thing. It has to involve with policies, funding, and people's behavioral change and practice in the daily life. But yes, it's definitely climate change. It's playing a huge role there.
Yeah. So I believe like you had some slides to share.
Oh, yes. Let me share.
Yeah. So in the context
I
of
will
floods
go
in
quickly. I just wanted to share.
So in the context of
Okay.
floods in Bangladesh,
Yeah.
like
So,
you were involved with
mhm.
making boats and stuff, and in terms of efficiency of those, and also like tying into solar regatta. Like, yeah, if you can.
Yes, yes. This is the map that I could find, the very recent one from last year, September. And as you can see, all the coastal area, the southern part, like all the blue areas, they constantly get floods. But then all the blue trail, if you follow, I mean, we have tons of rivers. Uh, and because of the climate change, the sea level is rising super fast, and that affecting countries like us who are right at the coastal border, and that's impacting everyday lives, that impacting our agriculture, our healthcare, education, infrastructure, everywhere.
Right.
And it's been increased, like the frequency, severity, and the unpredictability of the flooding because of the climate change. Um, and our country is more going through the industrial revolution. So there's more garments and factories, and there's a lot, tons of carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas emissions. So everything is affecting a lot. So I had the chance to work with a community-based project. I will share a little bit. So that was in the village area, especially like the northern part of Bangladesh, in funded by government. It was community-based project, and it was mostly focused on the really remote, like a survival from village, like really, really remote, who already are suffering with the electricity crisis, clean water crisis. And when someone's life, you always have to think about power or like clean water. You don't think much about education. You do not have time for thinking about that. That's like a luxury.
Right.
So the government was providing the funding for the solar panels, and we were designing, like it was designed from the scratch, designing and buying the batteries and connecting them with the boats. So the boats can operate through few villages, and the kids can come and can study there. There was like classes. There was even like some classes that only focused for women's health, but mostly it was for kids, like actual education. And as you can see, it is really fun. And most of the involvement that I have seen were actually all the college kids. So they actually came, they helped on wearing all the panels to batteries to charge control and everything. So it was really good to seeing like an impact, like actual impact, that you build it, you hooked it up, and then actually people from village actually coming and their kids are using the board as a library or as a school classroom. So it was really, really amazing to see. And that's like, I'm gonna kind of tie like how it's kind of different in USA, where definitely funding wise much more privileged. There's tons of policy and there's tons of resiliency projects that students can work. So these are one of not one, there's like multiple groups of past few years that they do the solar boat project. So here it's mostly college kids. So basically, what do you call, like university, first year, second year kids. So they come up with the idea, they have to build a boat, a sustainable boat. So they just can't go to any store and buy. No, you have to put your sustainable thoughts in to create that boat. And then they create the boat, they hook up the panel, they hook up the battery and everything. And it's a pretty big solar race that happens, and they get a trophy if they win. But they have to do engineering, mechanical, structural, and in a sustainable way. So it's pretty fun to actually motivate them, and they do see. And honestly, like all of them, I know all of them personally, and they have different background. Not all of them are engineers. They have various background. They even have one of them is from marketing background, but he chose to focus in the sustainable sector coming from marketing background. So which is like amazing, seeing kind of like, both part of the world. So yeah, it's really, really amazing. And I always tell, I mean, this is just a snip I put here for my younger audience today. There's so many fields you can choose. You can have your own company, you can work somewhere else. There's so many pathways within the sustainability / renewable field. So, okay, I don't want to take so much time, but thank you.
Great. That's a really passionate and inspiring journey for everyone. So thanks for that, Mirazun. Moving on next to Abir. So Abir, question to you. You live in Delhi NCR. So what is the current AQI right now? Can you maybe guess, is it above 150 or below 150?
Well, I like to think of myself, and this is completely not grounded in science, so nobody should take me seriously when I say this, but I like to think of myself like a bit of a sniffer dog these days, where I can actually sniff the air in Delhi and give you a ballpark figure in terms of what the AQI is like, because that's how long I've been working on air pollution in Delhi. But yeah, no, it's north of 200 if I
Wow.
if I sniff the air and tell you, but it's probably somewhere closer to 235 is what my laptop tells me. Yeah.
Wow.
So there you go. But I think the larger message for me here, which I would want to give to the audience, is also the fact that air pollution is not a winter problem. It's not something that, the media conveniently remembers it between October to February, which is when you can actually see and smell the air pollution. But it's actually a year-round problem. As much in the summer as it is in the winter. You just see less of it in the summer. So yeah, we're breathing, unfortunately, very, very unhealthy air. And it's become the new normal, which is sad.
Right. So as an alum of a political science at, Ashoka University and someone who has studied entrepreneurship, do you think pollution levels in the country's capital Is it politically savvy, and do you see this as a challenge, or do you see that as an opportunity?
Well, for the first time, we had the Delhi state election very recently, about a few months ago. For the first time, I saw that a political party brought up campaigns around the Yamuna's pollution, the river pollution, right? There was no specific, it was in the manifesto of the two key competing parties,
Yeah.
but there was no key sort of commitments on air pollution. Nothing that hadn't been said previously, at least. But this time, for the first time, there was a mainstream campaign, that a political party was running around the Yamuna. And I don't think our electorate is unfortunately mature enough to have given the election to that party just because of this Yamuna campaign. But for me, what's more impressive is the fact that they actually ran with it, because I keep saying that we need to sort of productively politicize pollution in some form or the other, right? And so the short answer to your question is yes, it is becoming politically savvy. We also have some way to go, but we're not entirely there yet. And I think, for me, an anecdote that I often share in this is, Diwali is a good example to consider. And on the night of Diwali, you have anywhere between 12,000 to 20,000 complaints which are filed with the police, right? And those are just complaints which are filed. So that's not even a representative number. But if over, say, 5 years, those 12,000 complaints were to fall to 3,000 complaints, to the rational politician, that sends a message, right? And that message is that if 12,000 is falling to 3,000, you're obviously not arresting 9,000 people in one night. What's changing is that people have started to hopefully and possibly care about the issue and have reduced their purchase and consumption of firecrackers, right? So the rational politician will then say that, okay, boss, if I talk about enforcing ABC firecracker ban, then I can get 9,000 additional votes, right? So at the end of the day, there's an equal responsibility on us as society to demonstrate to our policymakers that we care about these issues. Because until we do that, we're stuck in a vicious cycle. There's the infamous meme on Instagram where you see 3 Spider-Men pointing at each other. Right. So we're in that blame game of tu meme where everyone is saying it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. But yeah, I think 80% of the change will come from institutions, but the first 20% has to be us.
Absolutely. And do you think there is scope for entrepreneurship within this space? Who is going to solve this problem? And in the end, I mean, it's the youth who are going to solve the problem. It's a pretty grim one, like when we say, AQI of 200. So I believe where Mirazun is, the AQI might be 35, maybe, 40 max. At night, maybe around 20. So it's almost 10 times what we have here in Delhi. So I mean, how do you see a solution over here?
So, I mean, look, there's one clear, well, that's not what you asked me, but I'll still share this fact. It's in this air pollution discourse, it's our farmers who often get blamed, and it's not their fault, right? If you look at the Kharif crop season, that's 28 days in out of what is a air pollution season of October to February, which is nearly 6 months, right? So even if for 28 days farmers are burning crop stubble, it's not them single-handedly causing air pollution, right? Whether it's Lahore, whether it's Delhi, whether it's Beijing. That's one fact, because that's part of the solution, right? What's the solution and where do startups come in? I think, Shark Tank and all of these things have come in the last 3-4 years, but I think we've had a good amount of innovation happening on addressing some of these issues. Whether it's stubble burning, whether it's, I'm forgetting the word for it, but the efficiency with which your engines run and emit carbon, right? So that particular system. There's a lot of innovation that's happening the last 10 years, but the problem is not the lack of innovation in this instance. The problem is the lack of institutional will to take it to scale. Right. I mean, Pusa Road, we have a science institute which developed a biodecomposer for crop stubble about 4-5 years ago, but it's still not been taken to the scale to which it needs to be taken. Right. So I think there's innovation. I think startups are also seeing the market for it. You look at air purifiers like Earth or Pran, which are coming in with a very jugaad mindset, which is what I think India and South Asia needs, right? Frugal innovation. I think they're identifying that opportunity and capitalizing on it. The problem is of taking it to scale. And frankly, I don't have an answer for that other than what your policymakers will tell you on stage or what ChatGPT will tell you, which is subsidies and blah, 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 your typical macroeconomic theory. But we need to put that economic theory to test. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yep, that does answer the question. And I'm really glad, each of the panelists, like you touched upon, Veer, you touched upon fire, sky, and air. And Mirazun, like she touched upon water, and Mariam, like she touched upon earth. So with that, like we have touched upon all the 5 elements which are there this Earth Day. Hopefully, like we'll have a lot more, positive stories, in the coming years. And thanks so much. So I'll pass it on to Shrishmita now.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. It was really very inspiring to hear from you all. Very wonderful initiatives from Bangladesh, from about the boat and all, like how they are doing it with the solar, and also from different community initiatives that Abir and different people spoke about. So very thankful for today's panel who has highlighted the community-centric solutions in this energy relevant problems. So yeah, so anyone speaking? Yeah. So I'd just
There
like to
is
thank every attendees
Sushmita.
also have. Yes.
Sushmita, there is a question, I think. Maybe that would be useful to take. No, I think there was one from Kunali Sangvi. I think there was a chat. I think it's in the chat. It's just an information.
Before we go to the questions, can I just build on a little bit on what
Oh, yeah,
Abir was saying?
of course, please do.
Because I was really nodding my head emphatically on air pollution because I'm from Lahore. And of course, in the past 1 or 2 years, I think Delhi and Lahore have held the distinction of being one of the most polluted cities in the world. Sometimes it's Delhi, then it's Lahore. And there's been a lot of talk on this side of the border that some of the smog is caused by farmers and it's the air that's blowing from the other side of the border. So there's a lot of hopscotch that way. But I do want to point out that most of the efforts that have been done for air quality control have come from the private sector. So back in 2020 when COVID hit, and as one of the panelists previously pointed out, that is really when human activity came to stop and we realized what a beautiful planet this is. Like you're seeing clear skies for a change, you're seeing mountain tops from a distance. And we had a few engineers, who kind of developed startups related to air quality. And in the past 1 year, the government has actually gone full blown into a recovery mode, and we have a small commission now. So there's a lot of work being done with the transport department, the energy department, the buildings department to kind of curtail it. But I absolutely agree with the Beer that this needs to be political will that needs to trickle down. And there's a lot of room for innovation. And this is really the need of the hour because I think we were asking Mirza Zoon about her AQI. Lahore was touching a AQI index of 2000 plus in some cities. It's beyond hazardous. And then there were times we were getting schools shut for days for children, which is not a solution. That's another problem. Then what do you do with the children, working parents? So a lot of short-term solutions have been kind of shutting down activity. But thankfully, in the past 1 year, there has been a very serious effort on the part of the government to find a permanent solution for this. So yes.
Mariam, I hope your Air Quality Commission turns out to be a little more effective than ours. because ours is quite ineffective, and I'm being polite when I say that. So hopefully, I mean, these commissions get set up for 10 years at a stretch, and not a lot changes. So hopefully, I think we have to find a way to even nudge these government bodies into maybe invite private sector to sit on some of these commissions. Also,
I think they must. I honestly think, and this is what smart governments realize, that you need private sector people on board. This is not something that's going to come as a result of bureaucratic decisions. You need the innovators, and you need to join hands, because issues like these are of national significance. It's not an ego issue who's kind of finding the solution. When you're in trouble like this, I don't think you can be choosy about where the best solutions are coming from. So this is very important, and I really wanted to add on before we went to Q&A, of course.
Yeah. So Nishant, is there any other question also that was from the audience that you want to address, like before?
Well,
which
there
we have
were a
raised?
number of questions which were posted earlier. I just, in the
Yeah.
interest of time, had kind of closed it. But maybe I'll continue with the
We can
questions which
take
were.
one or two maybe from it, and yeah, if there is any other in the chat, then we can take it. If any discussion we
Sure.
want to take.
So in the chat, like, what about the fact that ours is still a developing country and a developed country? I think, like, I'll take a few questions from questions which are posted earlier. So what are the specific areas of collaboration between different parts of South Asia in the field of energy conservation? So it's a great question. I think like anybody on this panel can respond to this panel or the previous panel as well. So which are the specific areas of collaboration between different parts of South Asia in the field of energy conservation that you see?
I can take the first part of it. Oh,
Sure.
Abir, if you want to.
No, go
Go
for it, go
first.
for it.
So I know that India's had a very active ESCO market, right? And that is something that we've been working in Punjab. And for those who are not familiar, ESCO is basically a model that's been developed by energy service companies, whereby they come in with a design, with the investment, and they kind of take responsibility for running a project for 25 years. And it's kind of worked as a really good public-private partnership model, because
Right.
as I said, the government departments and institutions and universities are ready-made clients. These are universities that have been here in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh for almost 100 years at times, right? With very poor infrastructure and very limited budgets for improving upgrades, for investing in upgrades. So we've seen with ESCOs that this has been such a great way to kind of have these solar projects or energy efficiency projects with a lifespan of 25 years, where the government institution doesn't have to worry about the operation and maintenance side of it. This is very important because most of the time we see that government institutions don't have the capacity, or the personnel. And because there's so much shifting, in the long run, it's difficult to take responsibility. Someone is here for like a year or two and then they've left. And we've seen this work very well in universities, at least. Some of the premier universities in Lahore, again, as I said, have been almost 100 years old and highly, highly energy intensive and inefficient. So I think this is an area that we could see great collaboration with India, because India's had a very advanced market, as far as I know, for some time. And if anyone else wants to add to that, one more thing, sorry, standards. Because what we've been doing with energy efficiency, again, is creating standards, right? Very important to have standards for LEDs, for ACs. Again, with the summer season, the peak summer season coming up, we know how energy intensive the ACs are. But there have been no standards. So all these manufacturers that we have in the power sector, in the energy sector, they've been kind of developing their own, equipment. So that is, again, one area that I think is very important, because the climatic zone for India, Pakistan is quite similar, even Bangladesh, I would say. So this is, again, something that we could work on, because if you have standards for these energy intensive appliances and buildings, I think it goes a long way in kind of cutting down our carbon footprint.
Absolutely. I think this is a point really well taken. Abir, like, you had a point which you wanted to mention as well?
I mean, no, just examples. I think one is, we are looking at the India Middle East Europe corridor, IMEC, which seems to be gaining traction after a year of instability was disrupted it a bit in the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
But the IMEC corridor is unlike other transnational economic corridors in that there is a massive focus on green hydrogen, right? And while it is called IMEC, I do know that Singapore is also helping India in looking at the green hydrogen pipeline between India and the Middle East. And, of course, Prime Minister Modi is visiting Saudi right now. So let's see what comes out of that. But green hydrogen is going to be one big area, and not directly related to energy or energy efficiency per se, but I think the carbon market with India launching it later this year for carbon credits is going to be a very big space in terms of collaboration within South Asia and even global North-South collaboration. And I only mention this right now because India's carbon market is being developed by the Indian Bureau of Energy Efficiency. So that's how I remembered this in relation to this conversation, but still very relevant in terms of regional collaboration.
Right,
Can I
right.
add one more thing before we go to Mirza Zoon, because I'm conscious that we haven't let her speak in some time. Just 2 more
Fine.
minutes. Absolutely agree on the carbon markets. Absolutely agree. Another thing, because I mentioned critical minerals before, as we're aware of the trade war between US and China, I think this part of the world has a huge opportunity to kind of create a local manufacturing base. I'm not sure how much of manufacturing India does for its own critical minerals, but China, of course, has been far ahead in the game. And not just in terms of manufacturing, but having a proper processing base, like a proper downstream industry where you're kind of refining your raw materials and then exporting them to the world. So I think this could also be one very, very important area for this part of the world to collaborate on and kind of create an alternative market, for the US and other European countries to kind of import from.
Right, right. Mirazun, do you want to chime in? Maybe Tidal 22?
Yes, I will go quickly. So I do agree with what both of them said, but I would also think there are being in Bangladesh, there's also still a lot of areas that we can focus in terms of collaboration that will bring values for our country. One of the things I would definitely say we do not, well, there's multiple, we do not have any carbon tax system in Bangladesh, not yet. Like people get close together, they talk, but then that's it. It's just a talk. It never happened. It's not in policy yet. So we need that because my country does have tons of factories and garments which emission lots of carbon dioxide. So carbon tax can help to reduce the carbon footprint. At the same time, financially, it can make energy economic, circular economic. That's one thing. And another thing is I do see like we can focus on the generations side as well in terms of like we do not have tons of land. We have like a very compact, a lot of people, but a tiny amount of land. So we cannot put tons of solar panel. There isn't basically any space. But what we can do, we can put wind energy on our Bay Area, and maybe say India has tons of land. India can produce energy from solar way more than we can do. So we can do trade, inter-country trade. So those are like a really long-term, broader view. This is gonna take time, but there is like a tons of things that we can definitely collaborate. I see some questions there.
Yeah, maybe we can even have something like, what was given by Prime Minister Modi, which was like one grid, one planet, one grid. So, like there could be power exchange between all the South Asian countries, which is still there, but, we could expand that, and that could, expand into renewables. So, we could be following the sun. So, energy, generated in Bangladesh during daytime could be something which is, energy used by say, Pakistan at another time of the day. So, but that would require, regional collaboration and maybe, somebody who's, observing this, talk, later on YouTube, they might, think of this, the youth is speaking, let's, come together, solve climate for this region. So with that, maybe like I'll take the last question of the day. So like I don't see some active questions in the chat, but I'll pick up one more question. So are there any gaps in research or emerging perspectives that are needed to be addressed within the energy efficiency space? So I mean, Mirazun, like maybe this is a bit of a technical question. Are there any gaps or emerging perspectives that need to be addressed?
Oh yeah, for sure there is. I do feel like the whole energy, this is a very new topic for the earth, and especially for South Asian country.
Yeah.
Even like when I was growing up in 90s, I didn't know what is energy. I didn't know there's a field. I didn't know there's a field that you can choose your career. At the same time, you can actually make an impact for the earth. So there is definitely, we can do not only technical, I would say it's not only engineering focused. We can borrow or like buy or / utilize engineering solution from other countries and develop our own product, like own panels or the entire system of generation, the sustainable generation. But we're still far behind. We do not know where to focus, like education wise, when it's about research, market wise, education. Okay, there is something called carbon footprint. I wonder how many people from my country actually know all this term that even we are talking here today. Unless you are actually in this field or you are passionate about, you do not know. I do definitely strongly believe there are tons of research we need. We do need research in engineering, technical, at the same time, policy and government help on, bringing the initiative as a whole country, or even like, collaborating with other cultures and other countries. There's tons of things we can do. We are far, far behind.
Right. So collaboration and, bringing technology and systems together, and then, trying to scale it up. And then, the government and the policies, they, helping support, scaling up the solutions for climate and taking care of the earth. As, somebody said earlier, the earth would survive, we won't. So it is in our best, interest that, we take care of the planet before the planet shrugs us off. So with that, I'll conclude our Q&A.
Nishant,
Yes.
there is one question which is by Shamla Mani. Can you check? It is in the Q&A.
Sure. Oh yeah,
The
sorry, I missed that. So Shamla Mani,
large-scale solar projects.
yeah. So large-scale solar projects can contribute to increase ambient temperature, a phenomenon known as photovoltaic heat island effect. While the increase is often localized and may not be significant, studies have shown the temperature near solar power plants can be noticeably warmer than in surrounding natural areas, especially at night. Your comments, also, how do we address this? Also, like there is an additional comment over there. Water bodies near large solar plants actually have dried up. So, like anybody in the panel, like who would like to address that?
I will go because that's my day-to-day large scale solar project work that I
Right.
do. So yes, the PVHI, there is a PVHI, but it is not significant. And when we compare with all the industrial, agriculture, especially from the garments, fashion industry, and as well as the airlines, the amount of emission it happens, and because of those emissions, the temperature rise, those are like very significant compared to the PVHI. So and especially because you specifically mentioned you want to know about larger scale solar projects. So when I'm talking about something more than 1 gigawatt project, like, for very large scale factories, or even like for community based, like community solar, this factor honestly does not comes up because of there's like other points that we have to consider. So one is definitely cost, if it's going to be cost effective, if it's going to be give us the energy savings in terms of kilowatt hour for next 25 years. And again, there's like enough funding is available. And whenever it's community project, it's always very essential that what's your community is thinking and how it looks. Especially like here, I have like from past few years, there were times like community actually came together on the county hall or town hall that they do not want renewable energy because they are very worried that it's gonna look bad on their town. It's not gonna look nice. So we had to do like, design and go through not only the energy perspective as well as the beautification perspective. So being like engineer slash a project developer side who regularly work, we do care of this phenomenon PVHI when we actually purchase the panels. So from the manufacturers, like whether it's Canada or China or Taiwan, we look for those numbers and we try to get the reduce. But then again, pricing is again an issue when I'm talking in real terms, because the whole economy, the broader economy does not only work with our sustainability dream, it also move with the money. So it matters, but honestly, for largest scale project, it does not matter that much. But I'm hoping that day by day, the panels are getting amazing in terms of, higher productivity and lower temperature emission. So hoping that in future, it's going to reduce more the ambient temperature.
Yeah,
If
you have
that
a point there, Mirazun. I believe 1 megawatt earlier used to take 5 acres of land, and today it takes 4 acres of land. So the efficiency of the panels actually shows up in the land use which is there. So that's definitely a point taken. Also, maybe since I've done some work in the field, so just wanted to chime in over here as well. So PVHI can be mitigated till quite a large extent if we have agrovoltaics being taken care. So for example, if you have, say, spinach, if you have tomatoes growing underneath the panels, or even if you have, just shrub and grass growing, and maybe you have your, cattle's grazing on those shrubs and plants, I think there is a lot of, cooling which can happen. So because the panels are, darker in color, so obviously they absorb more heat, and that heat is dissipated during the night. But with these methods, for example, growing some plants around underneath the shade of the panels, we could actually, mitigate that, and in fact, make it even more profitable than the way it is. And it could be, simply the runoff which is there from cleaning the panels. It could be used for, watering the plants which are there. So it can be a win-win situation. Depends on how a large scale project is executed. So I think the community also gets, positively affected if the solutions are having, some sort of agrovoltaics. Just imagine, local shepherds are there. They are able to, graze their cattle, maybe even for free. But then, it's a win-win situation for the community. And the community will welcome a project like that rather than, fight against such a project. So all sustainability is, always people, planet, profit. And if we put it in that order, think of the people and then the planet and then the profit. I mean, it always pencils out. And that's the solutions we want to have, a win-win solution for everyone.
Thank you, Nishant, very much. As we are already out of time, I'll just give it directly to Madhuri and Ms. Neela to conclude and give their vote of thanks to all the panelists and the participants. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Neela, you want to go first or should I? Right.
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, it's been very interesting. I think it's been a wonderful 2 hours, and I'm so glad that we organized the panel discussion today. It's wonderful meeting each one of you. And also, I feel it's just, I think really I want to talk more from each of you because it's so much wonderful work. And really, we've had a whole gamut, right from, say, from digitizing to looking at, the rural sector, livelihood needs, and looking at innovation. Also talking about collaboration and the importance of education. I think that's shown through everywhere. I think the need for behavior change education, the importance of nudges, as Kiran was talking about, and I think you guys are an inspiration. I think so fortunate I feel to be part of this discussion, and I think we would love to keep in touch with you all. I want to really thank all of you from my heart, and invite everyone to join SASEANEE, and also we should try and organize such sessions in future, and would like to co-organize events with any one of you who would be interested in working with us. So I also take this opportunity to thank the earthday.org, with whom we have collaborated to set up this event today. And I think it's been wonderful. Thank you so much, Neela, and please convey my thanks to Karunaji. And over to you, Neela.
Well, thank you, all of you. We're calling Earth Day, Earth Action Day, and all your acts, whether small or large, really count. I would request all of you to get on our social media pages and really, spread the word as to what needs to be done. We are here, to help you in whichever way you want to take things forward. We're happy to collaborate, to partner with you for this year's theme, Our Power, Our Planet. We want to make Earth Day every day. So please continue doing the wonderful work that you do and let us know how we can help you. Thank you so much.
Let's all have a picture as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll miss Ian, but yeah, let's have a picture.
Yes, everybody smile.
Utsav, Nitisha.
Yeah, we'll be missing Karunaji as well.
Yeah. And
It's at another webinar, I'm afraid. So never ending.
That's true.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's done. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks each one of you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.